Good morning, everybody.
How are you? Good to
I'm
see
good.
you.
I'm good. Good to see you. How's it going?
It is great. It is summer in Montana, which means that it is beautiful, and we've hit now the occasionally have to turn on the air conditioner in the afternoon, which is so awesome. As you know, right?
Yeah, you
You
and I live
know,
different lives, though. I've
yeah,
had the AC on for months.
yeah. Okay. Well, there we go. There we go. Yeah.
I do like my cold. I do like my cold. My parents were here this morning, and my mom was unimpressed.
Yeah. Right.
She was chilly, but I'm glad. I am so glad for you that you are in the point where it's like your what is it on the Miss Congeniality, like your perfect date weather. It's like a July, whatever it is.
I did
I'm gonna
not
figure it out.
expect miscongeniality in this conversation. That is a
See?
like out of nowhere. Okay, I am so excited about what we're talking about today.
Me too.
So, and by the way, I love the name Form-idable, right?
Thank
So
you.
we're talking about forms. And I should just let, I think what I want to do is I want to highlight you as the instructor this week, and I'll be following along learning. So to the whole class, this week, what we want to do is talk about some of the new tools that are just coming out from Google. And what we want to focus on is being able to iterate impact measurement more effectively and more quickly. And iteration is actually a really important piece of this because we want to be able to have people do impact measurement more quickly. And I have a bias towards doing small experiments more rapidly as an engine. And so I think that this fits into that. So without further ado, take it away.
I was waiting for the "Do you have any dues to further," which didn't make sense here. But
I know I
I'm
really
grateful
like
for it
that
last
phrase.
year or
Yeah.
last week, whatever. Anyway,
Mm.
hi Megan. So one thing I do want to clarify, and you kind of touched on it there for a second, Tim, but what we're showing everyone today in forms will be available soon. Some folks have it, some folks don't. For those of you that are a little more like beta test savvy, if you've got Alpha Labs with Google, you likely have access to this today. But it is not more than weeks away. But we figure if we've got it, let's show people how to use it. So when it is available, instead of them testing, they will know how to do it. So I want to add that disclaimer right up front. So if you're wondering why you can't find it, it is likely that your organization has not turned on those like beta opportunities yet. And that's perfectly fine.
Yeah.
But today I want to show everyone how to create those assessments really quickly for impact measurement, right? So that's something that you and I talked about. So hopefully, you guys are going to know better what you need and want to measure. And so we're not here to talk about that. Of course, I am the last person to talk about like the assessment strategies and all that. Like there's way more qualified people than Tim and I to talk through that. But we are here to talk about learning how to utilize tools to do that faster. Because one thing that impact measurement in particular really gets in the way of is like quick progress. And the problem is we all need that impact measurement in order to continue to justify our cause, continue to make sure we're in line with our mission. I mean, there's so many different reasons. Actually, I would love, because we've got so many wonderful chat warriors, for those of you listening, like I would love to hear the reasons like you see behind impact measurement. Because sometimes I get going on these and then I'm like, oh, this is actually something that I think we need to do that maybe we don't anymore, which impact measurement's not a good example, but I want to hear all of the reasons why people think like they need impact measurement in their organizations, just to keep me excited today. So if you could, that would be awesome. But I really want to get right into it. So I am going to quite literally share my screen right now. We're going to see. It was not enjoying me earlier. So Tim, you're going to have to let me know if it doesn't share, please.
It is sharing. It is
Let's go.
absolutely working.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank goodness. I was really nervous. Okay, so you can see I've tested this one out already, but what I'm going to do is, like you would do as you're creating any form, I want to see if I can zoom in a little bit here. As you are, like when you're creating a form, if you're in your Google Drive, I'm going to get our Gemini over here, just out of the way, so we've got a little more screen. Hit new, and we're going to go to Google Forms. Like the simplest version of this, right? This is the new piece. And so Tim, this is the first time you're seeing this, as far as like this part of it. So to explain it to you, but then I want to hear what thoughts or questions you might have before I get too far into today's demo. But what I love about Google's approach to their Gemini enhancements is they're constantly trying to show how to use it within the tool, because that's one of the things we struggle with the most. And as you said, if you ask it how to use it, a lot of times it doesn't know.
It doesn't know.
That's not a Google thing. It's a LLM thing. For whatever reason, they don't understand their own capabilities. And smarter people than I can figure that one out. But I love that, like in here, I can see just from a nonprofit use case perspective, right? Like create a survey, collect RSVPs for a community volunteer event. I can only imagine how many times we would use that. But I love that you can shuffle too, right? Like I know we're talking about impact measurement today, but think about like if you're a really small nonprofit and you don't have these big HR infrastructures or anything like that, create a time off request form, create applications to foster animal. Like this is all so absolutely relevant to what we do. And I love that like they've got some of these pre-set up options for you. I don't know. What do you think, Tim?
I think that it is just like we say about AI.
Yeah.
What you need is for it to make an 80% draft with, get there as fast as possible. And I think that we are due for a shift in our thinking from how do you line everything up and get the exact right thing to how do you experiment. And for neurodivergent people, we've been doing this all of our lives. And so maybe it comes a little bit easier, but the most important thing is not to plan it out perfectly. It is to get in and start trying it. And so what I like about this is that creating a form with just your basic questions is half the battle. And so this is really helpful for that. Megan, that's a really good, good answer right there. Is what about if you have a really small no team? This is what I mean.
I think she's saying like, yep, that's me. Cause that's what we were talking about.
Oh yeah. Gotcha.
This is great for stuff like that. Just knowing Megan, we actually got to meet Megan as close to in person as we get with today's world. When you're like national, but she actually joined our upskillerator last week. And so it was so fun to like actually like in my mind meet her face to face. So now I'm like, oh, Megan and I are best friends. Obviously, Tim, let me translate for you.
No, I'm glad. No, thank you. No, I think that's great. And so what I will say is the step I think that's really critical is to decide, because there's so much options here, to really think through before you start, what's the outcome I want, right? What am I trying to move towards? So start with a really clear destination. I want to understand this one thing better. If you find that one thing, then it will help you across the board on all of this stuff. So that's the one tip I'd add on this. Okay, show us the 80% draft, and we have a surprise guest speaker because I really like Dan's comment. So we invited Dan to join us. He is in the room. So yeah, Dan, what are your thoughts on this?
Actually, Dan, before you give your thoughts, get me what do you want me to type? Because I have one that I know is going to do what we want it to do to show. I want your thoughts. What should I ask the form to create? Knowing what you know about Impact Me.
Oh yeah, impact measurement is my jam. The other one is staff parties. What should we do for the holiday? Like we as people, we want to get quick feedback from our staff, but who likes creating surveys? No one. Well, maybe somebody, not me.
That's a really good point. Actually, this makes that so much easier.
And building off Tim's point, it's using AI happily is forget about perfection. It's never perfect.
Yeah.
But I throw my line, progress over perfection. When you dive in right here, whatever Sami's about to do, I'm assuming you're attaching a document.
I am, but I want your thoughts first. Like I want to do a first test of like, all right, Dan, if you saw this pop up on your screen, what's the first prompt you're gonna put in here?
Yeah, for me, it's impact measurement. So I'm with Furniture Bank, and we make sure people get the products they need to actually be successful in their empty housing. So I would be creating, you came to Furniture Bank. Did you get everything you need from Furniture Bank? What was missing? And those types of things. And see what it does.
Just make your form. What did you type there?
I just typed in this. I knew it was going to do that, but you can see it up here. It says create a form to measure impact for my nonprofit. So one thing that's really important to note with this is it doesn't currently have context you don't add to it.
Correct.
So when Dan said, I'm sure you're going to add a document, it's because he knew, because Dan's a smart man and uses Gemini all the time, that it was not going to, it needs context. It's not going to automatically pull when we're in this format. But this allows me to show you a couple things. One, your prompt stays up here, so you can edit your prompt. And if you don't like what it gives you, you can actually just hit try again, which is awesome. So, Tim, to your point, the ability to iterate quickly, huge, right? And I love, like, Dan, I actually hadn't thought about this, but like create a form for my employees to choose a date in December that they're available for the Christmas party.
And what type of food do they want and entertainment? And again, we live in a world where you can give it tons of detail. Of course, Sami, you know what I did is I gave Google Forms 30 seconds before I came on a 20-page deep research report on impact measurement.
Oh, dear God.
And it swallowed it, and it came back with a draft.
Well, actually, I'm really glad to hear that, because the piece of this that I was wondering a little bit more, and we'll get away from this and we'll go into my actual demo, my actual example about impact measurement. But I hadn't thought about it like this. So I was like, actually, this is kind of awesome to be able to show this piece.
Look at this. Just look at that first one. Anybody who's worked in any form tool, who
know how hard it is to make that one?
That's like a tax form.
The grid. Yeah, right. Okay, Sami, I've got one thought here. Okay. Which is I'm going to record a verbal prompt here in the LinkedIn chat thing so people can see it. And I'm just going to go ask it. I'm just going to like talk through how I would approach this. And then can you take that and paste it in? And I just want to see how this goes.
Let's try it.
Okay. All right. So
let me mute myself.
Just one second. Hey, Gemini, please create a form that is collecting what people want for lunch. We're going to be going to Zanzibar Kitchen, and this is a Mediterranean wraps. So we want to have people look at the menu really quickly, but they're going to choose a wrap, they're going to choose a protein, they're going to choose a size, they're going to choose a side, and they're going to choose a drink. And then they're going to identify if it's vegetarian or if it's meatitarian. And then you probably think of a couple of other things that I'm not thinking of that should go on a food order. And that's the whole prompt.
Right, you're commenting that on the LinkedIn Live?
Yeah, it's just recording right now. It's just putting it in there. Okay, there we go.
I know why you're asking this, and I'm so excited.
Yeah. I mean, first of all, I want to help people see that
it's so big.
Speaking into a prompt for people like me, it allows us to do a train of thought approach to this. And I don't edit myself. I just like throw all of that in there.
The only thing I want to add is, can I add a town?
Sure. Yeah.
Because Zanzibar and Toronto is very different.
Yeah.
Okay.
Bad.
I didn't know if it was a specific town or not. So that's what, well, let's see what it does without it, I guess. Why not?
Yeah. Right.
Because Gemini is are both types of models all rolled into one.
Okay, so how did it do? I can't actually read that. It's too small.
Quit it. How's this for you, Tim?
That's insulting. That's insulting. And we both know it. I love it. All right. Cool.
Kitchen lunch order. What kind of wrap? And I don't know anything about Zanzibar, so you're gonna have to tell me if it actually looks this.
Oh, I made it up. I have no idea. I like totally made that up. I didn't.
Oh, is Zanzibar not real?
No, I don't think so. I've never heard of it.
I thought this was a real place.
No, it's not a real place. Of course not. I just want to find out.
Look it up.
Yeah. No, because okay. So if this had been a real place, what I would have done is I would have gone to their website. I would have copied their whole menu. I would have put it in here and then use that instead. Mm-hmm. So, mostly what I wanted to do was to find out how ambiguous prompting would work with this and like what it would pick and choose from it. Right.
Yeah. I mean, I do think the point of the menu would be important.
Yeah, right.
Because obviously it's just making decisions based on either what you said. So it's clearly reading the prompt really well and then just filling in the blanks. It's not searching.
Yeah.
But I think there's an opportunity here, Tim. Instead of going out to the menu, instead of going out to the website and the menu, I would have actually started in Gemini native.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Done a
Here's
search.
what I want to build.
Yeah.
Create me a prompt. So you could still riff and you could still do vague prompting, but you do vague prompting in Gemini. And then you go over, same Megan. I had no idea.
I know. This is just my crazy brain at work here. Okay, can we try one other thing? Go up to the top and just add the word grid. And if we still have that prompt, I don't know if you can still access it or not.
I think I have to hit new form again. Oh wait, no. 1 second. Let me zoom in.
And I gave you a URL for an actual Zanzibar.
Oh, that's
restaurant.
Awesome.
So again, this is back to learning AI is just experimenting.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, cool. Yeah, pull that in. And then what I want to do is see if you can tell it what kind of questions you want. So for that wrap, I want
just try the URL.
Yeah,
Sammy,
just tell it put a grid in there.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Like, I guess this is how all of us learn AI is just try and break things.
Yeah, totally.
Shannon, you're never late. We are always so excited to have you. Okay, and then Tim, you wanted it in a grid?
Yeah, a grid is the matrixy looking thing, and it is so much more condensed and takes a ton of time to create by hand.
Yes.
But it is one of the best form tools. Yeah. It's like pivot tables for forms.
Woo!
Did we break it?
Okay, so it said it can't help with that. But
take out the URL. Is the URL in there?
Yes.
Yeah.
Try taking that out.
Yep.
Okay. All right. And it did not create a grid. Oh.
Well, let me hit try again. Oh my gosh. AI, that's like snarky. Here we go.
I know.
A little better.
A little bit better. Try something like this. Make the whole wrap a grid question. And then what I wanted to do is be like, here's the question for your main, here's the one for your side, here's the one for your drink, right? Like just a really simple thing like that.
Great.
You can see why I use like voice prompting so much, because it's so much more quickly. Shannon, welcome. So glad to see you here.
She's never late.
All right. Roll call. Who else is tuned in right now? Love to find out who else is here.
I think I see Megan's there.
Megan, Shannon.
It does not like you, Tim.
It does not like. Okay, good. This is what I want to know. Like, okay, it doesn't handle that well. I'm
sure we could finagle it, but I also want to take our whole time. I do want to try this though.
Okay, my next thing on this would be to create a gem that holds a prompt so that I can create these really effectively, because that would save so much time.
I think you're highlighting something, Tim. Like we've been these sessions talking about Google a lot, and it's clear behind the scenes that everything is just a day away, an hour away from everything getting chained together.
Mm-hmm.
That, like, what I'm doing on the side here is I asked Gemini to actually extract from the menu, create a list. We can create the doc, attach it to the form.
Can you ask why it doesn't like Tim? Sorry.
I do. Yeah. It'll put a question in. Why don't you like Tim? That question's been on a lot of forums already. So
I ask myself that all the time.
Exactly. Shannon. Yeah. I appreciate you surfacing the question that we all have.
It did update though. Look at this.
Yeah. Interesting.
I mean, this is awesome.
Yeah.
So, okay. I would like to get into impact measurement if I could.
Okay. All right. So step 1, create. And create
but I
and
think all of us are
refine.
going to be having some great employee surveys coming out here in the next couple of minutes.
What I really like about this is, do you know how much time it would have taken us to create this number of forms by hand to see if we liked it or not? Mm-hmm. Right? That's the point. This is 3 hours of work, if not more, because I've done a lot of forms, and you're just
therefore
able to
people
look
don't
at
do
that.
it.
Right, exactly. Right. So you can so rapidly just try multiple things that would take hours otherwise.
Yep.
So
And the
again,
best way to get
80%
your
draft.
staff to give you feedback is give them something to criticize.
Yes. Oh, that is
So
so true.
you spin
Yep.
it up. What did I miss?
Oh,
Yep.
I love that.
Right. Yeah. It's really hard to edit a blank piece of paper. Right. So
Okay, I want to show you this, but then Dan, I may have you show us the one you made because I think yours is like that second step of it. So I want to show what in my brain of like when I'm thinking of Camp Gilbert or the other nonprofits we work with, Tim, like especially volunteer only or those really small organizations that aren't doing surveys all the time, or like the whole goal is this is a removing that barrier to getting these things going, like you're saying. So I was thinking from that perspective, right? So I'm thinking like, okay, create a post program assessment here. I'm going to cheat because I did already type this one out because I have Whisper, but I don't use it well. Also, I like that anyway. And then knowing that we need to add context, one thing we haven't talked about is you can actually, and Dan, you kind of hinted at it, you can actually add your own files. Yeah. So I'm going to actually put in.
wait, what? What's that even mean? Wait, hold on. What?
So I could have.
You missed that, Tim?
I missed that and it's breaking my brain. Like, what does that mean? What?
Let me try it without the at first, actually, so I can show.
Wow.
This is my favorite part about when I'm in charge, though, Dan, because I intentionally don't show Tim all the things. I show him some of the features and the abilities, and I'm like, is this the vibe we're going for? And then he just lets me kind of surprise him, because then I get the raw reactions from him, which is so fun.
This is amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, so this alone, how awesome, right? Like, no context about our program. It still understood the general overview of what AI learning and ethics program might offer. It knows I want to measure confidence levels, key learnings, and impact. And it gave me a really good form. Now, what I want to do is I wonder if I can add it from right here. Okay.
Yep.
I'm going to try again, but actually add our summary, which I think while that's loading, I will show you what the summary looks like because it's not even a page.
Is this in our Impact Me Foundation docs?
Yes.
Can we everybody give a standing ovation to Sami for creating literally over a weekend a full like organization's worth of all of these documents that we are using months later, and it is a work of art.
Thank
Absolutely
you.
phenomenal. Yes,
much appreciated. Much appreciated. So this is like if we were to make a slide for what we want our summary of like our AI learning and ethics program at Impact Me to be, right? So think like if you have a standard slide that you're showing everybody about what the impact of what you do, of what your summary or your program is. So then I pulled that summary in, like, and as you saw, it's 2 pages. It's nothing crazy. But then it pulled it all in and said, okay, now let's really dig in and assess based on your actual program summary. And this is like my absolute favorite thing, right? So which of the following did you find most valuable? How has your understanding changed after the program versus what was it like before the program? To what extent do you feel the program's helped you integrate this? Like all of this stuff, but maybe I want a little bit longer of a survey, or I would love to test like putting in use this frame. Is there a framework, Tim, who is somebody that studies assessment, impact measurement that would have like a
Feedback
framework?
Labs. Feedback Labs has an incredible. In fact, I'm just tagging Alexis Banks and Brett Lake in the background. Feedback Labs would have great, really good stuff around this. Genevieve Smith does amazing work around this, and Mina Dawes, all of them. And then if you want a framework and the most advanced thinking on this, it's Kate Ruff with the Common Approach to Impact Measurement, which is just such an incredibly important way of thinking about impact. Oh yeah. Kate's one of the most interesting people, especially because her background is she's got a PhD in the history of finance.
Yes.
That is just so wild. Anyway, so super interesting. But yeah, all of them have really good content on how to do this. Feedback Labs, this is what they do. They've set themselves up to gather feedback to improve programs and to give feedback specifically to funders and foundations.
Okay, really quickly, Tim, I'm going to stop sharing my screen because I think this is a really important thing to like just pause and talk about for just a second, because you've taught me a few things in this. So what I would like to do is utilize their framework as a guide, and I want to put that in the prompt. My concern is, and we've talked about this previously, is that fair? Right?
Is
like
what-
to say,
is
is it fair to say, use the framework of Kate Ruff and build me this?
Oh,
Do you know what I'm
see.
saying?
Yeah.
From like
Great-
that
great
responsible
question.
use perspective, because I want to do it, but what I don't want to do is have us demonstrating practices we would not encourage.
Yes. Thank you so
Well,
much.
I could speak for the common approach as a board member.
Wait, you're a board member?
Yes.
I didn't know that.
Total
He's
nerd
actually the
in
board chair
AI,
of the Hack Me Foundation
I'm
as
not.
well.
But no, the common approach to impact measurement is trying to give all of us a framework that works for us while meeting the needs of funders and other groups. So I know the common approach would love everybody to be looking and using its framework. But yes, we have to be mindful of when you say, go look at this website and embed this, is that ethical?
Yeah. So Tim, you've talked me through this a few times, and I know this is a little off from the demo side of it, but it's really important to me because I was just about to do it, and then I'm like, wait a minute, what do we do here?
Okay, so here are the ways to think about this, right? You have some organizations that is what they focus on. So Feedback Labs and Common Approach to Impact Measurement, and even back when Microsoft was actually being helpful to nonprofits, which I've got a whole beef with them, and I was on their partner advisory team working on the common data model, which is now housed under Giving Tuesday's Common Data Commons. All of those organizations are working to get the word out. And so promoting them and using their framework is probably the best approach. When you're working with independent consultants like Genevieve Smith and Nina Dawes, myself, we've put a shingle out, and it is really, really important to us to have our IP used and protected, right? So how do you do that? The first thing I would do is always cite and say, here is who I'm learning from, right? This is something I try and do all the time because I don't want to take credit for things I'm learning from other people. And so, and I want people to go to the source, right? I don't know what Nina Dawes knows. Like if you spend 10 minutes with her, you will be blown away, right? So when it comes to ethical grounding inside of how to collect data, how to think about that, how to set your organization up, Nina Dawes and Genevieve Smith are the two names that come to mind. They're both incredible at that work. And so cite them, reach out to them, find out what they've put out there that's free. If it's out there and free, it is available for use, right?
Yep.
So, but most importantly, say who you're learning from so that you can spread the word on that. That to me just feels like authentic and ethical for myself personally. That's why I do it. It's not, maybe it seems like a name dropping. That's not my point. The thing I'm trying to do all the time is to say, here's who I'm learning from. Cause I learn from all of these people. It's why I spend so much time hanging out with people. So is that helpful?
Well, and it's why we say at the beginning, we are not impact measurement experts. We are barrier remover experts for sure. And I and you and Dan, all of us in our neurospiciness are great use case testers of these things because all of this exists out there. And so we want to try it all the time. And so I appreciate you giving me that. And I want to see how Gemini in this form may help us or not help us in that citing. And I'll share my screen and show you just what I'm thinking, and we'll see how it works. But yeah, I think, and for those of you who are interested in this topic a little bit more, I think it's really important to know we do have a couple episodes coming up probably more in mid to late July about some of this. So it'll be less demo focused and it'll be more like, let's bring on some of these experts to help us through easy ways to maintain that responsible frame when utilizing AI. So all three of us serve on the fundraising AI advisory committee or council, and we do that because we care. But as you can tell, like just because I'm on that council does not mean I know all the things. I mean, I help with the framework review committee, and I'm still not always sure how it applies to my life. And so, yeah, and so I love being able to ask my friends, my colleagues, and I invite and encourage all of you always, like, even if the topic isn't about that, ask the questions. Like whether it's on a live, you can message any one of the three of us on
Anytime.
LinkedIn, literally whatever, because if one of us doesn't know or we want to shop like feedback and thoughts between the others, we'll pull you in. But I want you to know, we would much rather you ask those questions. And that's why I was kind of grateful that this came up, Tim, so I could show I ask those questions all the time. Because AI has made things so much more accessible than they ever have been. But to your point, if there are things that are IP or paywalled, how do we approach those with, frankly, with like class and with some responsibility in it? So I had looked up Kate Ruff's Common Approach to Impact because that was the first one that you had said. She's got a whole website on it.
Right.
So that tells me I am okay to say, I said, utilize the strategies laid out by Kate Ruff in her Common Approach to Impact Measurement and be sure to cite them. I'm not confident it'll cite, but I want to see what it'll do. So we're going to hit try again. I don't know her Common Approach to Impact Measurement, so I'm not going to know if it did it well, but I will know if it changed. And what this tells me is it gave us a lot better, like neutral, likely, unlikely. Like it did change some of the language well. Now
Can
my
you go to the
question
top and see if it introduced it at the top? Because my guess is that that's where it would.
That's where it should. So it didn't, but it did add her down here, which is super weird. But it's like, I think its ability to like link right now. And so it's like, here's where we got this question.
Yeah.
Which I appreciated. At least it did that.
Yeah. I also think that you could probably say, here's what to say and where to say it. So you could get like in the opening, let everybody know that we are using, Feedback Labs approach that, or whomever, right? And tell the form where you want it and when. And I think that it will probably do that.
Let's try it.
And you could even tell it to put in a text area that has a link to that so that you're sending people there. So I'm curious about that. But if not, that's the refining piece, right? This is an 80% draft. That's the extra step that you do.
You can edit from here, right?
Exactly.
Like, you hit create the form, and then you could still start
then you're into editing.
Yeah.
But like this functionality right here, that up until this moment, because I feel this is like a feature that came out last week. The idea of beta-ing forms, nobody did.
Yeah, right.
You hired somebody who would make a one and done, and everybody would set and forget. We don't live in that anymore. We can actually collaborate. Sami spins it up. I look at it. We could go in this idea of quick iteration. And for me, my neurospiciness is projects across a day. That's my kryptonite. I can actually,
true.
I can now take something that's, I shouldn't touch it and actually get it done.
Yep. And prototype. I think the other thing is that iteration and prototypes are the emergent, like that is how you function in an emergent
and that's what I found
process.
with my team who are later in their AI journey is they need to see something to react to. Throw in learning styles. Not everybody can just think of something. They need to
this is where it goes to. What's the name of that test that does cognitive styles? Kolbe test.
Kolbe.
That's the thing, is that some people are going to be better at the front end on prototyping, and some people are going to be better at the back end on collecting the data, refining it, making sure that it's like that. So this is where AI as a team is much more powerful than AI as a person, and which is why I harp on so much about AI at work as a different vehicle than AI just on your own. So I think that's
really quickly. I want to note a couple things. Once you hit create, you can still but it'll start a new form.
Yeah.
So this little button up here, I don't know why they decided not to use the Gemini icon. Like, why on earth they chose a different icon for forms, I will never understand, but here we are. But you can create a new form. You cannot, once you hit create, iterating on the form as it exists, not doable via AI. Today, I am sure that is coming.
Yeah.
But then when we get into the responses and we create
then we
Google
can get
sheet
to the
for
sheets and the AI format.
Yes.
Yes. So think about all the AI things we did. Now here is, I just want to show you this last little tidbit, and then I want Dan to do like a 3-minute sprint on his before we close out. But the coolest thing, honest to God, the coolest thing I found in this entire journey was this new conditional notification. And one thing that is very close to public is Google's got a lot better workflow infrastructure, and it is coming hot. But this is a like tester of that, right? So what this is saying is for every time some condition is met, this person should be notified in this way. So imagine creating a feedback form, and every time a new form is created, your board member, like your board chair, gets a notification like, hey, Dan Kershaw filled out his survey response. Or maybe you flag because every time we see how likely you are to share your learnings and it's actually like a low rating, that flags immediately for Tim Lockie, program coordinator, to follow up, ask more questions, and see if there's an actual issue, or is it just a person issue, or is it a combination? Like, the opportunities for this are pretty endless. And what I love about this piece is this is from, if you understand conditional formatting, if you understand sheets, you don't need to understand automations to do that.
Yeah.
Like, this is such a good segue into automation and workflow creation in a way that like people can understand because they've learned it in this way. So
yes,
but
those are the things. As
I
always,
have yet to meet anybody but you two for sure. Nobody wants to do workflows. They just say, when something happens, I wish I'd be notified.
Yeah.
Yes, that is really, really true.
And
yeah,
that right there, it's so close to being accessible to everybody. Anybody who's just comfortable in sheets. Doesn't have to be a nerd, doesn't have to be a power user, just has to be curious enough to say, I want to be notified when somebody scores a certain number on a certain thing.
I think that's the right way to understand it. People, I mean, what people actually want is visibility of information. And those of us that spend our time schlepping data around all over the place know there's faster and slower ways to do that. So we think of the irrigation, factors, but what people want is, I want water over here. And the water is the information, in case that wasn't clear. But that's what people are really focused on. They want to be able to see it. So great.
Right now, unfortunately, Dan, I was kind of hoping it could. It doesn't do that yet, but it does at least understand how to do it, which is kind of nice. So it could walk you through it.
Yeah, and I think
it's getting us there.
Well, Google's so close. Like, these are like share. Like, these are features that are so not, I guess they're complicated because it's Google, it's global. But the actual connecting of these things should be inside of this year.
Absolutely.
Worst version of Google Workspace we'll have ever today.
We started this series in mid-May, I think, right?
Yeah.
That is barely, that's not even 2 months ago. And what we are seeing in Google now or in Gemini now versus Gemini then is a massive upgrade. I think we've our expectations scale instantly. Is one of the things I love about humans, right? As soon as we see it, we're like, but can it do this other thing? And Google is really going fast. What?
Have we done vids yet?
A little bit.
Did we do vids?
A little bit.
Yeah.
It's my job to keep us on time because I'm always pulling this over. Dan, you now have about 90 seconds to sprint us through.
Cool. So I'm just going to show one example. Of course, I have a zillion.
Good job, Sami. Here. Proud of you.
Well, usually I'm the one. Usually I'm getting the messages from Tim saying we need to end soon.
This is Furniture Make. We do impact measurement. We're nerds at it. All that stuff. This was a document I created for my board so that they could actually try and understand the million ways we measure the social, environmental, and economic impact of making sure kids and their families have furniture. 24-page document. I threw it in to Forms, and I said, create a 20-question client impact survey. Now, we measure not just clients, we measure donors and a whole bunch of stuff. So it had to find and zero in. Look, I want to see ranking, Likert scales, grids, but use, and I pointed to that 24-page document. And what I got was, it actually nailed it. Would I have changed some of the questions slightly around? Yes. But I have something that I would never have been able to pull off, and my impact measurement person could take and refine using their what's the new word that we should be using, Tim? Taste. We can use the individual's experience to refine this to, that 80% right, the 20% is can do it. So I did this when Sami said, Dan, I'm putting you on the spot. So again, all I did is I took the organization's knowledge and what I wanted, and I got something. And when you hit try again, you get a slightly different interpretation, but it stays within the boundaries.
And I did put in the LinkedIn, and I'll put it on my lonely little YouTube or Facebook Live over here. The link to the episode that Dan did on deep research, if you want to know how he got there, because that is something that Dan's walked us through previously. But I do want to I want to show this video at least one last time, and maybe you can make a new one, but I really like the Upskillerator video. And
before we do that
episode,
I've got to add one last thing.
For sure.
And I'm gonna start trying to remember to say this. We don't live in a world of management anymore. We now live in a world of emergence. Management worlds are when you forecast the future and create really elaborate, very, very specific plans to get there. I was never good at it, and that world never worked for me. The new world that is coming is an emergence world. It's a recognition that we don't have enough information or stability, and things change so fast that in long-term planning, you can't get there with a standard management approach. You have to create an emergence approach, which means your strategies have to be GPS, not Atlas. And that is the world we're in, and AI really caters to it well. For those that struggle with an emergent world instead of a management world, I respect that, because I've been struggling in the opposite. This is a really important distinction to understand, if for no other reason than to know why it's frustrating to you. And that might be why. So more on that to come. I think that this is a really important meta topic that we're not spending enough time understanding what the future world's going to look like.
That's a really good point, that emergence versus management, like AI helps you get there, but it doesn't help you manage it, I think is such a good point, because we think it can replace things that it can't sometimes.
Yes,
and so I'm really grateful for that. All right. I want us to, we were a little over time, so the people that head out, that's fine. We actually have never ended on time, I don't think, so I don't feel that bad, but I want to show our wonderful video here really quick, talk about the Upskillerator, and then next week's episode. I hate everybody. I'm kicking you off the stage. Just can't play video from storage. Please try again or contact support for help.
Every time. It is so funny to me. Every time we fall for it too. We're like, this week it's going to work.
I test it before every episode. Quit laughing at me.
This is Steve. Learning AI on his own has made him unhappy. He joined the Upskillerator, a badass AI crew that upskills on AI together. Now Steve is happy. If you're tired of lone wolfing AI, click the thingy and join the baddest AI gang on the AI way. And when I say baddest, I actually mean goodest. Because for reasons that make no sense, the best way to say goodest is baddest. Anyways, you should join the Upskillerator by the human stack.
I hate it.
Every single time. Every single time.
I'm just going to take that slide out, and we're just going to do it this way every time. Anyway, I know Dan stepped off, but
Dan, thanks so much for coming.
Yes.
I'm still here.
So
Well, your video was off. Did it?
Oh, I'm like, I don't know if that video doesn't play if your camera's on.
Oh no. You were not the problem. Trust
yeah,
me.
no, that's not no.
This has been a problem.
It is so hilarious. Yeah, so hilarious how big of a problem.
I'm so glad that Tim gets such a kick out of it. It's so hilarious for him.
Oh, it does crack me up. I think it is very funny.
I spent so much time getting this ready, and
I know,
inevitably,
but
like
every
those
time.
simple ones
Every time.
always fail.
Okay, about the video, it is for the Upskillerator. The Upskillerator is a community. If this is your jam and you haven't found your tribe yet, the Upskillerator might be a good place for you to try that out. This is what I hear over and over from people. Oh, I found the people that I want to learn with. That is what the real value has been. I mean, I'm sure I am a good teacher or whatever, but mostly people learn from each other, and it's been so helpful to have a place for us to do that. So Water's great. You're welcome to jump on in. Sammy, Dan, and I kind of co-lead this together, and we'd love to have you there. So check it out. Link is someplace. Oh, I'll put the link in here.
I can pull it up now. Well, if I go back to this, it's going to look like I don't know what I'm doing.
No. I've got it. I'm putting it in. I'll just put it in the chat there. Okay, great.
And I can put the QR code up really
cool.
quick.
Awesome.
That does exist.
All right. Sammy, as always, thanks so much for prepping everything, thinking of the next topic. It's very fun. Dan, thanks for bringing the perfect amount of seasoning to the conversation, as always.
Yes. Next week, we are going to talk about, so what we're going to actually do is I'm going to create some mock data in the form that we just created. And then Dan, I'm revisiting Canvas, and we're going to actually create a dashboard for our donors or board members, or frankly, if people want to comment what they would prefer to see impact measurement demonstration for, happy to. Otherwise, we'll probably just figure it out in live. But we'll create a dashboard on that and show how you can make an interactive dashboard for your board members or your donors, or how you can essentially utilize the data that you've now been able to get faster and take that and actually make some deliverables with it. So the other piece would be how to create a comprehensive report that allows you to, like, more than what you can do in Sheets, allows you to create actionable, like, decisions, actions to take based on that measurement of that impact. So, like, what needs to change, what needs to be improved, what needs to be highlighted, etc. So super pumped, and that's all. Thanks so much, everybody.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining. See you next week.